welcome to Control Talk Now, your smart buildings videocast and podcast for the week ending July 31st, 2016. That's right, folks. July has come and gone, and lots going on in the controls world. And of course, July marks the beginning of football season. So with that, I'm going to welcome my co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only Pittsburgh Steeler watching, Kenny Smyers from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show. Big dog.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. It's great to be here. And you're right, football season started on Thursday. Antonio Brown reported to the Steeler training camp with a customized Rolls Royce featuring the Steeler colors and his number. So pretty fancy stuff. And
well, he had a bet with Brandon Marshall who would get more yards.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, so they had a bet. Brandon Marshall apparently has got a Porsche, and he bet his Porsche against Antonio's $150,000 Bentley, right? And custom
That's
Bentley.
That's a Rolls-Royce.
Rolls-Royce, yeah. So I think Antonio was smart enough not to take that bet, dude. But it's rock and roll. But listen, I tell you what, I was doing a little research this morning, and you know what it's going to take for Pittsburgh Steelers to win the Super Bowl this year?
Keeping our backs from going to jail and getting suspended for smoking marijuana.
Well, no, actually, if Pennsylvania just legalizes marijuana, you guys are in, big dog. You guys are in. So listen, buddy, we better explain our wardrobe. As Kenny and I mentioned on the shows before, we are sort of swag whores, meaning if you send it to us, we'll wear it. And last week, I challenged Kenny. I said, if somebody sent us bow ties, would you wear them on the show? And our friend Josh Bradshaw from Work.Work responded to the challenge and sent us a couple of bow ties. So true to form, true to our words, we're wearing the bow ties. And I'm also rocking a Honeywell combustion hat here too. So yeah, let us know. Just reach out to us in comments. We'll tell you where to send the swag, but we'll wear your stuff on the show, even if it's not cool. So we're still waiting for the Google glasses, by the way.
Remember, I got my function devices pen too. So you're not kidding.
We don't mess around with that because Controltrends doesn't pay well. So we make it up with great wardrobe accessories. But well, I tell you what, Kenny. So it was a big week, man. We got a lot going on. We got two great guests this week. We got Marc Petock from Lynxspring coming up, and our friend Josh Bradshaw from Work.Work, who sent us the orange bow ties. So it's bow tie day on Controltrends. When
Josh joins us, he's going to be wearing a bow tie. So we're going to have a try orange trifecta with our bow ties.
Man, I tell you what, I like that, man. Vocab words. We got new vocab words on Controltrends this week, so we got a lot to cover. But Kenny Smyers, I tell you what, let's get down to it. Big dog, what was up first?
Well, the first was a ACHR news webinar. It was free and it was very informative. It was Selling the Connected Home, How to Grow Your Business. It was July 26th. It was done by Nest Pro. And I didn't make the webinar, but if you signed up, you're able to download the PowerPoints and whatever. And I'll tell you what, the thing with Nest is that they went kind of into a quiet mode, but they're moving deep into the market, and they're driving a conversation. In fact, there was a report from the Opinions, Internet of Things and Industry Influence Study done in July, and Apple's number one of the 10 most influential Internet of Things companies, and Nest is number two. Google's number three. Intel, Microsoft, Cisco, Samsung, Vodafone, MediaTek, and Secure RF are the top 10, but Nest moved into the number two slot. And I don't know if people are paying attention, but they're really coming through this total connected home thing. They're working very closely with Skybell, Lifix, Ratio, Yale, Who, OnHub, just to name a few. But they're now reducing a product portfolio that becomes considerable. They have the Nest Learning Thermostat. They have a second or third version of that, V4.5 update. They've got Nest Protect, the second generation. They've got the Nest Cam Indoor and now the Nest Cam Outdoor. So what we're seeing here, Eric, is a very, very powerful, slow-moving movement on Nest who's using the IoT. They're using everybody's routers. They're using all the technology that's in place. And now they're beginning a social media market. The fire deaths in the United States, they want to eliminate it all. They want to use their Nest Protect to do that. And they're making a claim that they're going to surpass Honeywell's 100-year lead. The biggest brand of thermostats in the world, Honeywell, is facing severe challenges. Nest is claiming that they're going to pass the sale of Honeywell thermostats in 2017. So that's a pretty big boast, don't you think?
Well, I think it is. And I tell you what, I was noticing that post, the name Gene Lanois. And if I'm not mistaken, Gene used to be with Honeywell. There was a Gene Lanois that we used to deal with back in the day. So not only are they maybe poaching their ideas about round thermostats, maybe they're poaching some of their key people. But I tell you what, Kenny, I think the thing is that we talked a little bit about last week with Therese Sullivan and social media and being on top of it. And I tell you what, I think our industry's got to wake up to the fact that social media is the way that people are going to market now. And you better get dialed in and get it figured out, because Nest, I think, was the largest campaign in our industry ever launched, and they keep going. So you know what they say, the highest form of flattery is imitation. And I don't know how we get ahead of Nest. Nest it makes, I think, a good product. But, they're not distributor friendly. So for people like us, it's not good. I don't think they're contractor friendly. I mean, the people that we do business with are getting bypassed. Yeah.
Official timeout.
Okay.
They're doing they're asking for distribution partners now.
Ooh.
So at the end of this seminar, they say that they're going to go to the market. Here, let me get there real quick. It's at the very end of the presentation. So they culminated by saying, with Nest, you can future-proof your business with a new trade. So they're going to keep on with the more interconnectivity. They're going to stay ahead with the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Thread, Nest Weave. They're doing more information inside the house to the outside, home away, ETA, energy rush hour, and more opportunities. And under the more opportunities section, they are looking for partners for HVAC, electrical, custom integration, and security partners. And they're going to use I would believe a two-step distribution. They're going to go into a larger presence using Nest Pro trucks. They're blue and they're pretty cool looking vans, and they use a lot of contractors right now. But there is a call for people that want to be partners at different levels. So they're going to stratify their market support. The problem when you start selling direct and you're successful is you'll get the economy of scale where you can't support it. You'll need a partner out there. You'll need a two-step partner because you just need more supply and more support, and you can't take all that overhead on yourself, and you can't be everywhere at once. And so what you do is you make partners, and through those partners, which would be distributors, you're going to be able to support your installed base and sell into the market deeper.
Well, Kenny, I tell you what's interesting about that to me is that, Nest pretty much when they were working with the dealers before would tell you what you could sell it for. They would tell the contractors what they could install a Nest thermostat for. So it was a different model. And as we continue to talk about distribution and how things are changing, I wonder how Nest would do that with distributors. Is it going to be a set price? Because, they're very heavy on marketing via the internet. Will there be a set price you have to sell at? It's going to be very interesting. I went to LinkedIn while you were speaking, and so our friend Gene Lanois, actually, his background goes carrier, and he worked for Watsco, Victor Distributing, and he was the regional sales leader for Honeywell ECC between 1998 and May 2006. So I thought I recognized that name. I think we did some business with our friend Gene there. And, if you look at him, he's got a great background. I mean, he really is a qualified guy to maybe put this together. But yeah, for Victor Distributing is a distributor down in Tampa, Florida. And of course, Honeywell we know about, Carrier, Watsco. So it'll be very interesting to see what he puts together. But maybe that's encouraging for folks like us, because I think Gene does have an understanding of what distributors bring to the marketplace.
We sure do. Eric, do we want to come in and announce our sponsors for this week's show?
You know what? Let's do, because Nest is not one of them. So who are our sponsors this week, Kenny Smyers?
Our sponsors are Johnson Controls, which not now, but they've always offered one of the easiest choice in building automation, and it just got easier. Johnson's really excited about the expanded product portfolio they have with the exceptional product lines. They've got the FX line, which is easy to program and commission, multiple networking communication, seamless data sharing across the networks, remote access via multiple communication technologies, and easy to see, easy to use graphics. It's all within that Facility Explorer. And then, of course, they're really excited about the map, and that's it's high performance, not high maintenance. So contact your Johnson distributor in your area, because this mobile access portal helps you get even more out of your Facility Explorer. with easy access to a pocket-sized web server.
When I tell you what, they're all over it, Kenny. And Jenny Stentz, who is the global market manager for product and energy saving products, came in and visited yesterday. So I had a chance to sit down with her and interview her. So we'll have that interview, I think, posted next week on ControlTalk Now. So stay tuned for that. But when you listen to Jenny talk with the different acquisitions they're making, Tyco and other things, and how they're going to roll that into a bundle, it's fascinating. I think Johnson is definitely on the come. And if you think about it, I mean, we've been dealing with these guys for years and years and years. And the one thing you could always say about Johnson, their products are rock solid. When a Johnson product hits the street, it's going to work. They got great tech support, and they really take pride in the products they build. So they recently sold off, I think, their seat division. A lot of what they do is in automotive. So they spun that out. And so now they can really get back to focusing on building automation controls and smart building solutions. So look for Johnson to just keep coming. And of course, our friend Chris Eichmann, Chris Lane. I mean, if you go to Controltrends, you've seen the interviews with these folks, you know what we're talking about. Of course, Kenny, our second sponsor is another major league player. It's Siemens Controls. Our buddy Josh Felburn and the team at Siemens just do a fantastic job. They won big time last year, won the Thermostat of the Year with their RDY 2000, as well as several other awards. So what's your audience know about Siemens, Kenny?
Well, we had a nice post last week on Siemens. Dave Riddell, the talent trainer extraordinaire. Siemens is just really and truly re-engaging North American markets. They're if you go to their website, it says moving America forward with passion and purpose. That's really cool. So it's ingenuity for life and our ongoing pursuit for human progress. Manufacturing intelligence makeover. So they're really coming in, they're ushering in the digital age. For us as distributors in the two-step world, Siemens has really and truly made prodigious efforts to become more friendly and access more of their product line through distribution. So it's been a very good year for Siemens because they've got the right products, they got the right prices, and they got the right people. So those three, that's a big punch as far as marketing efforts go, and actually getting into the market, getting contractors, getting their attention and getting their purchases, and then the support. So Siemens got it all. They
got it all going on, that's for sure, Kenny Smyers. All right, Kenny, tell us about our next guest.
Eric, I'd love to. Our next guest is the one and only Marc Petock. Marc Petock is the Vice President of Marketing for Lynxspring and Connex Energy. He's also the MC for our Controltrends, our Precious Controltrends Awards. He is an industry expert with 35 years of experience. He's a well-recognized speaker and an associate editor, he contributes to Automated Buildings. Welcome to the show, Marc.
Hey, Marcus.
Hey, guys. Great to be here on this lovely rainy day today.
Well, I tell you what, it's sunny in Atlanta. We don't quite have the rain yet, but Kenny and I have been knocked off twice already, Skype, because his router was getting zapped with electricity. So, but hey, dude, you didn't get the bow tie memo, huh?
I did not get the bow tie memo. Where is mine? I mean, I can go running in the closet and get the one I always wear at the Control Trend Awards if you want.
No. Just teasing about that. As you know, we're swag whores. So if you send us swag, we'll wear it on the show. That's our promise. So cool, dude. We need some Lynxspring swag, man. We got to wear that maybe soon.
You do. So let me ask you this, guys. And if you're really the swag whores that you say you are, if we send you a pair of boxer shorts with Lynxspring printed on the tush, you going to turn around and show everybody?
Dude, I'd be willing to do that, but we can't be responsible for the effect it would have on our female audience, and the males would be so jealous that now I might wear them for my wife, but that's about as far as that's going to go, I think.
There you go. Good.
Well, cool. Well, Marcus, man, tell us what's been going on at Lynxspring.
Well, there's still a lot of exciting things. We've got an extremely aggressive new product development roadmap that we are working on and delivering on. As you guys know, and I think many of the Control Trend audience knows, about a month or so ago, we released a new cellular router that offers a private virtual network for connectivity. So it's not on a public network. It's all private. So we recently released that. Coming up in the next couple of weeks, we've got the new Genesis Edge 100 that we sort of debuted at the Niagara Summit. We're really excited about that. That brings the Niagara framework truly out to the edge, and we believe it's the first of its kind, being able to deliver and take Niagara out on the edge. And then immediately following in that footsteps of that product, we have what we're calling the Genesis Edge 534, and that takes that Genesis Edge 100 product and adds a whole nother layer of 34 IO to the product. And then on top of that, through the Onyx products that we've been coming out with, we've got coming out as well, IO on Onyx, that we can take the Onyx IO and add IO to the 534 up to, we're still trying to figure out the numbers, but in and around another 225 IO can be added to the 534 IO.
Whoa, Marcus, you just said a whole bunch there, buddy. We could probably spend several episodes with that. But, the quick takeaway for our listeners who might not be familiar with Lynxspring is that these guys are, if they're not ahead of the trends, they're setting them, but they're definitely on top of them. So let's start with the first thing you talked about, which was the cellular offering. So are you seeing that as a trend, and why did you guys get into it? And what do integrators and what do owners need to know about it? What's the advantage to using cellular?
Well, first of all, we do see it as a trend, especially if you want to do remote connectivity and where you don't have to go into the network per se. You don't have to worry about the IT folks, which we all know is a daily concern we all have in the industry, and as well as the IT folks. So it's being able to access that piece of equipment or a Jenny or a Jace or whatever remotely when you want it. And the fact that it is completely over a secured wireless network, and we partnered with Verizon, one of the best in the business and one of the best out there as far as cellular availability. So we're starting to see a lot of traction in that, and especially both from the integrator side, the owner side, because it's giving them an opportunity to let their service providers provide better service and more value to their service. And then from the OEM perspective, where an OEM, let's say a major manufacturer of a rooftop unit or something like that, wants to be able to get access to their units without having to go through the BMS or go through some other type of system, this gives them that direct connect access.
Okay, so let's break it down a little bit, because what the key word I'm hearing here is cybersecurity. And as you know, Mark, you're one of the leaders in our industry on cybersecurity and how it affects BAS systems. So the first question I got to ask, you said something very telling, I think, which is it's secure. So why is a Verizon wireless network more secure than the way we normally connect?
Well, first of all, it's a virtual private network. So it's not part of the public network schema that we use with our phones and accessing internet. Is completely private. It's been set up for data transmission, data exchange only, no voice. And the fact that Verizon, as a leading cellular technology provider out there, really takes security to heart. And I'm not saying the others don't either, but for now, their offering was very impressive with us, especially on the security side and the measures they take to secure that network.
Very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. So that's one trend we've been tracking. Of course, you guys came out with the Cyber Pro. You've been on this since the beginning, and encourage you, if you go to Controltrends or go to LinkedIn, follow Mark on his LinkedIn profile, you can get quite an education on cybersecurity from Mark. Kenny, the other thing that I'm curious about is, this whole thing that we're seeing going from enterprise to edge, and it seems like Lynxspring plays at both ends. But what question do you have for Mark regarding their edge controllers?
Well, the first thing I'd like to do with Marc is compliment you on the website. It's a testament to your marketing prowess. That Lynxspring website is top notch. It's pretty, it's sexy, it's very informative, and you guys do a great job letting people access your site for information. So well done on that, Marc.
Appreciate that, Ken. Yeah, it was a labor of love. And, like anything on the web, it's continually dynamic. And but we appreciate we launched that, I guess it was early last year. So we've heard a lot of good comments about it. And, encourage everybody to go to lynxspring.com, take a look at it.
And then also with the IoT that Eric was saying, we were focusing on IoT at the very beginning of the thermostat conversation we had on Controltrends, and then IoT spread into lighting, and then IoT spread into just about every facet of what we talk about. IoT's truly the buzzword of all. But at Lynxspring, you guys are doing a good job with the IoT as far as you design and manufacture and distribute these products that is for automation, and you give people the ability to do small, medium, and large size applications. I was on your solutions page, and you guys have quite a repertoire of buildings. But what Eric and I always think of IoT, it bridges the gaps. It gives us a chance to give small building owners small buildings like commercial, so the race to the small space. How is IoT going to help us get the 80% of those buildings out there that have no DDC on them? IoT to me seems to be the solution.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Kenny. I think, it's interesting. We all been in this business for a long time now, and it's been a very active business. But it's amazing to me how these three letters, IoT, has truly taken the lead to transform our industry and our technologies and our businesses. And I never thought, that those simple three letters would do that. I mean, we've been our industry, we've been doing IoT for several years. We've been connecting devices. We've been getting data. We've been doing all the points that IoT delivers. But I think IoT, as I said, has really opened the door for bigger and better things. And more importantly, it's getting the end user extremely interested in our technologies as an industry. And I think that's been a good door opener for us all. But for us, we started about 2.5 years ago with a whole new corporate and marketing strategy called Edge to Enterprise. And that is truly our IoT initiatives and truly embracing it within the company, into the product development roadmap that I mentioned earlier to you, and also in the way we market ourselves and talk to potential clients and customers and how we work with our customers today. I look at it as it's not connectivity. That's a given today. I think everything is ready to be connected and things like that. It's not the number of devices. It's how those devices are integrated, how those devices are interoperable with each other, how you bring the information you're gaining from the data and doing some true analytics on top of it, and then the action that you take from that. And I think that's how the IoT has really changed our game on what we're all doing as an industry.
Well, that's cool, Marc. And then sort of along those lines, it reminds me of a line from a movie. I can't think of the movie right now, but it's "You should be afraid, very, very afraid." And, you've been at the conferences the same conferences we go to, the Niagara Summits, the Realcomm IBICons. And when you talk about IoT, it seems like we have so many people entering our space now, the Intels, the Googles, the Compies, the Dells. How do you see it shaking out? Should we as an industry, I'm talking about traditional smart building controls industry, should we be afraid? How should we be reacting? How do you see it all shaking out?
First of all, I say no, we shouldn't be afraid. We as an industry, we are smart folks. We have great technology. We've got a really good base with the the groups that we work with, the integrators, the contractors, relationships with owners, building owners and operators. I think, to try to put some sense to this as far as shaking out, at this point, I really don't know. I've heard people come in, I've seen this. I'm equating this to what it was like in the good old .com days. And if we go back to those days, I can remember going out and talking to companies, and I was on the marketing side, and we would go in to visit a potential client on a Monday, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. And we, after the pleasantries were exchanged, we talked about, well, what type of business are you in? We're a web company. We're an internet company. What type of company are you? We're an internet company. Do you have a business model? We're an internet company. How do you gain revenue? We're an internet company. Okay. So basically the moral is, obviously you've got to have good technology. You've got to have a good marketing strategy. I believe that you need a strong channel as well. So, and I think for these newer players, I have yet to see that strength in the channel that the more traditional folks in our industry that we've had. And it's, you don't create a channel overnight. It's taking years to create that channel. And so I think that's a major differentiator right now. And I was at a conference the other day, and I'm going to pose this, and maybe the Controltrends audience can respond to you guys about this, is that I was sitting on a panel recently. We were talking about smart building technologies and things like that. Good panel. And one of the panelists mentioned, well, you can take our technology and download it off the web, and basically within a half an hour have your building smart. And one of the questions from the audience was, well, do you have system integrators? Do you have a channel that goes in, really looks at the needs of the building, basically brings that value where the channel does? And no, we don't. And so myself and two other panelists almost literally fell out of our chairs. So we don't see how that can work.
No, agreed, Marcus. And I think, there are a lot of things that look easy till you try to do them. And I actually, well said, very, very well said. But that being said, what advice would you give to people in our industry? Because obviously Lynxspring is not looking too much in the rearview mirror. You guys are looking ahead. And it's an analogy, that Ken Smyers gave me once. It's a little bit like if you're going to go shooting ducks or birds or whatever, you can't shoot where they're at. You got to shoot where they're going to go. So you guys seem to be sort of dialed into where you think things are going. And so what advice would you give our community regarding the changes that are ahead?
Well, I think, again, open continues to be a driving force. And I think that open is part of this whole success that the IoT initiatives is contributing to. And I definitely think, it's going out from the edge to the enterprise. And we really, we saw that, as I said earlier, several years ago. And I think also you need to start to look at, and I'm going to paraphrase, look at this is, so we talk about accessing the data, the connectivity. Great. We can all do that. But it's, take a look at where that data is actually processed and analyzed. There are so many new options now. So for us, we're covering all those bases. We can, we're looking at the edge where it's processed, analyzed locally out on the edge. It's processed and, or at least stored or sent to a new term. I don't know if a lot of people know this, a data lake. Data lake. Yes. Where all the data that you're collecting from the different systems and devices goes into this lake. It's not processed. It's the raw data going there. And then when you are ready to process that data, it then goes up to a cloud. And in that cloud environment, that data is processed and analyzed, and then obviously action is taken upon that. So that's a new thing that we're seeing. Also, you're starting to hear, with respect to data, this thing called FOG and FOG, and we're starting to see that as well. It's similar to a data lake, and but it's again where the data is going from the device to the fog, and it's stored. It can be analyzed there, so it doesn't always have to go up to the cloud to be processed or analyzed. And so that's kind of, those four areas now, how data from our devices and systems that we've been getting all these years is starting to change now, and where it's going. So to be able to offer solutions in around each of those, I think is important for the industry to think about.
Well, it sounds like you guys are on. Oh, yeah, it sounds like you guys are on it, Mark, with your Edge to Your Enterprise initiative.
Yeah, as I said, we believe we are, and I think as technology has evolved and whatnot, this is a journey, and I think we all in our industry have been continually on this journey. Is there an end in sight in the journey? At this point, I can't say that there is, because you just don't know what's around that corner and what's going to lead us to develop new things or to approach things differently than what we have been or are currently doing today.
So, Mark, if I get it right, then IoT is it's the way of the future. It's going to get big capabilities into small places. I think it's going to give us that M2M finally, that we're going to see machine to machine. We're going to relieve or remove the people from the equation to make sure we're getting no people clogs. And then I think, too, that the efficiencies. So when you start adding in all the data analytics, the weather forecasting, historical information. Mm-hmm. What you're going to see is finally we're going to complete the efficiency loop within the building space. And I think IoT is going to give it that push we need. And the concluding remarks are that we're going to transition into Project Haystack. We need you to give us some insight into Project Haystack, because first of all, you had some news where you've upgraded your website. So you've added features to it. So tell us a little bit about what's going on with Haystack and what to expect.
Yeah, a lot of good things there. As many of the folks know, that's a project that I'm involved with, as well as one of the board members of Project Haystack. And we're on a path for lots of new things there as well. So, Kenny, as you guys alluded to earlier, we've added some improvements and additions and enhancements to our website. Those are only the beginning as we continue down that path. We've got the Haystack Connect conference coming up May 8th through the 10th at the Saddlebrook Resort just outside of Tampa, Florida. And the audience, you guys will start hearing more and more about that. We are increasing memberships. In case everybody doesn't know, we encourage people interested in tagging and data modeling and really embracing the Haystack methodologies to come join us, become an associate member, and get involved. And one thing about it, it's an open community. And on that website, there is a forum, and there's a new blog area as well. And it's not just a small band of folks trying to put together this methodology. It truly is a collaborative community. And we're open for lots more people to join us. And we also want people to contribute. Even if you're not a member, go there, look at it. If you have something to contribute, we would value your contribution.
Hey, I heard you guys expanded to the French now. It's the Haystack Connection magazine now available in French. So you're becoming more global. That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, we are. And I think, from the global perspective, data and semantic modeling, naming convention, the whole Haystack methodology knows no boundaries. It's not just North America. The same issues are global. It doesn't really matter. So that was a good point, Kenny. Absolutely.
Well, hey, Mark, I want to sort of jump back a little bit, because more and more of our Controltrends community now are consulting engineers. They're reaching out to us every day. And we, of course, have always had a very, very strong stable of owners that tune in, and as well as manufacturers. So the short, and this is probably over simplistic, but for you guys who might not have heard of Haystack before, what it basically allows you to do by using the naming conventions, if you're an owner, it allows your integrator to put the system in much less expensively. It allows them to create an analytics dashboard much, much less expensively. So the cost to get this data goes down dramatically. And then the other thing, Mark, I guess I would say, if you're a vendor out there and you're not Haystack compliant, you might not even know what it is. As a vendor, if you're making controllers or whatever, what do you have to do to become Haystack compliant? Let's talk about those two things.
Well, again, one of it is you got to agree and you got to adopt the Haystack methodology. Again, that's where you're putting naming conventions on things and tagging and all that type of stuff. And, the true benefit behind that is that everything you're naming it, so it's the same thing, no matter if it's in building A, building B, or if you have multiple air handlers in a project or on an install, that they're all talking the same language. So you're taking the normalization of data one step further by calling a kilowatt, no matter where that is coming from. And so I think, that right there saves time, energy. It's much easier, because compiling data is one thing, but then bringing it together and make it work from multiple sources is a whole nother thing. And Project Haystack, the Haystack methodology does that.
And we've seen the demos. We've got them on Controltrends with guys like Scott mentioned, Jason Briggs, bring all these disparate systems together, in a matter of minutes. So it's kind of a no-brainer. Why would a manufacturer not put tagging? Because it seems like if you're, for example, if your VAV controller is backnet compatible, you're basically putting some code in there, which is naming it with the backnet convention, the LAN convention. So is it just as simple as adding the Haystack tags in as well? Or why would a vendor not do it? Is it too expensive?
No. Again, at the end of the day, it's open source community and everything else, but that's the $64,000 question. In other words, I think people do practice naming and some semantic modeling, but it's not consistent. They're just doing it the way they feel it should be done, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. But to have a collective industry following those same standards or methodology, I think is far better than everybody going their separate ways.
So as a consulting engineer, your takeaway is if you really want to give your owner value in terms of a lower cost installation, you just need to specify that the controllers or the system will be Haystack compliant. Is that correct terminology, or have Haystack tagging in it? Or
yeah, just say if it embraces the Project Haystack tagging modeling, I think is probably the simplest form of that. And obviously there are many companies. If you go to projecthaystack.org, there are many companies who are supporting that, obviously through their membership. Lynxspring is one. You mentioned J2 is one. Wattstopper Legrand is one. So there's several others there. Airmaster from down under, ARP, which is a big engineering firm. They just recently joined. Control Co. Some of those names I think are, the Controltrends industry group recognizes those names.
Right.
Where, as Eric, you said, a good starting point was that on Project Haystack, there's a guide specification for the data modeling of building systems and equipment. So if you really and truly want to get involved, then you would take this specification into your, you would ingest it or incorporate it into what you do, in your day-to-day stuff. So if people come here and they begin to use that model right there, they're well on their way to adopting and enabling Project Haystack within their cultures.
Yeah, and there's also, Eric, you mentioned Connections, which is the magazine that we're publishing twice a year. You can have access to that as well. There's a link at the site there. And I encourage folks to take a look at it. There's some good case histories on how the methodology is being used in the marketplace. And it's another good source of trying to get to know Project Haystack better.
Well, I think this is one thing, Mark, we've watched the momentum gather with Project Haystack. I don't think it's going to go away. I think it's going to keep getting bigger. And it's kind of like the analogy we used earlier. How do you survive in today's marketplace? You don't shoot where the bird is now. You got to lead it. And I think hitting the bullseye with Project Haystack will probably carry you very, very far as the connected and IoT economy continues to grow and expand.
Agreed.
All right, Marcus Petock, one last thing before we hop off here. People want to know, man, what are you going to wear for the Controltrends Awards this year?
Eric, I don't know. The fact that I do have my tux, I do enjoy, let it be out. I enjoy wearing the tux at least once a year, so that's good. I don't get invited to a lot of these Hollywood red carpets that often.
I don't think anybody in our industry does. So we might have the only Hollywood red carpet.
Yeah, we get create our own. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm expecting, I keep looking for my invitation in the mail or come in my email box, but, for some reason they seem to get lost all the time. The Oscars, the Grammys, none of those just, really get to me. I just can't figure that out. Why? But, speaking of the upcoming awards next year in Las Vegas, again, looking forward to that. What better place to have a Controltrends award at the heart of entertainment, the heart of basically anything fun in Las Vegas. So, looking forward to us going to the Red Rock. Red Rock. I don't know why I said right.
Hard Rock, baby.
The Hard Rock. And anyway, my apologies to Hard Rock and really putting on another spectacular event. I know you – go ahead.
Just let me ask you a question because, by the way, the Controltrends Awards right now is open for sponsorship. That's how we pay for it. We got a lot of great sponsors, right? Lynxspring is a platinum sponsor. So, Mark, thank you for that. But from a vendor's perspective and also from a guy that comes from a marketing background, speak, if you would, to maybe some vendors out there that are on the bubble trying to decide whether they want to get on board with the Controltrends Awards or not. From a vendor's perspective, what's the value in terms of supporting the Controltrends Awards in your opinion?
Well, I think it's multiple. Number one, the exposure that the company, the brand, and your products get is to and within our industry is unprecedented. The job that Ken, you and Eric do and ControlTrends.org does is just amazing. So that's first and foremost. Number two is, we're an industry. We're an industry that we all have to collaborate with each other. And, Kenny, to your word, co-opetition, we're all better off doing this together. And so I think it's a good thing for our industry. So as a sponsor, you're also helping continue to move our industry along. And number three is the relationships that you do get from people attending the event and are unprecedented. I know from our perspective, and I'm going to take my MC hat off and just put on as a platinum sponsor. I know that we have developed some new business relationships as a result of being at the Controltrends Awards and having some conversations with people that we knew a little bit but never really knew them up close. And now we got to know them, and we're actually equating some decent amount of business from them. So I think those particular three reasons from a marketing perspective are important. And so keep that in mind, all you marketing folks out there in our industry. I encourage you to join myself and many of the other companies that have stepped up to the plate. But as Eric and Ken have said, you cannot put on a show like this without the sponsorships, no matter if you're a platinum, gold, silver, or whatnot. And I invite you to join us as well.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
I think very well spoke, very well summed. But again, it's January 29th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Hard Rock Cafe Vegas. And I think for me, in the old days when I used to go to AHR and set up, we'd fly out there and we had a lot of hard work to do on that Sunday. And then we'd have to take customers out to dinner, and it was like an additional expense. So I like to bring up the point that if you do participate as a sponsor, it is a great way to end your Sunday night. It's a great way to aggregate your customers together and enjoy an evening together with the industry. So you're going to have to take care of your customers that Sunday night anyhow. So let's bring it all together, make it a big industry event. Depending on your sponsorship commitment, you can take all your customers and have a great dinner, drinks afterwards, enjoy an amazing show, learn more about the industry, and like you said, network and collaborate. But we're going to have a very entertaining show. So I think it's a great way to solve the riddle on what are we going to do Sunday night after we get done setting up our booth at the convention center. Then we got to go out and have a dinner somewhere. So we get everybody together. It makes it a very easy target to go to the Controltrends Awards Sunday night, the day before AHR starts.
Kenny, I'm just going to disagree on one part of that statement you said to spend your night there as far as, I said, I look at it as, and I can't remember what the exact phrase is. To me, that's getting started for the evening Sunday night. You're in Vegas. You're in the capital of the world. This is a great starting point to then enjoy Vegas afterwards.
That's
the
right.
way
That's
many
right.
of us wish over the years we haven't did that. But anyway.
Absolutely, for sure. Mark, thanks so much, man. We really appreciate it. It is our Hollywood moment for the controls industry. As you know, Kenny, and I think we got the greatest people in the world here. Where else can you go? Walk the red carpet, get videoed, open bar, full meal. As a matter of fact, I'm so pumped up about this, Kenny. The first person that reaches out to me and you, Kenny, and says, I want to be a platinum sponsor, and says, Marc Petock rocks, we'll give you a special deal. You got 7 days to take that up on. Offer's going to be off the table by the time we do the next show. So, but we really do. We need your help. We want this to be the best and biggest show ever. So, Mark, man, thanks for that. Also, thanks for being a guest on the show this week. Marc Petock, Lynxspring.com. Also, check him out on LinkedIn. He's a guy you want to follow, and he keeps his eyes and ears in the game. Thanks, Mark.
Appreciate it, guys. Appreciate it a lot.
Great stuff from Marc Petock. But hey, Kenny, let's break it back down. Let's get back to the race to the small space. A company that we handle and sold a lot of their stuff. It works really well. Is EnTouch thermostats. We've had them on the show before. They are rocking and rolling. So tell us a bit about this next post, buddy.
Well, I think EnTouch is, again, they're silent, but they're huge. They speak softly, but they carry a big market stick. And basically what they do is they've taken some of the most important aspects out of facility management and they've put them into their thermostat. So they've come up with an EnTouch 360 that offers the ultimate in facilities and energy management intelligence. The turnkey installations, energy analysis, and prompt resolution can simplify the lives of your facility management team while it delivers savings and enterprise savings on your bottom line. But I think to elaborate, what happens is they have a wireless system, it's easy to install. They handle the whole installation commissioning process, so you don't have to lift a finger. But the most important thing from their concept is your management team costs money. And if they're trying to work out day-to-day issues of, too hot, too cold, and they don't really know what's going on, and they break the thermostat guards to get in there and whatever, and daily harassment on who's controlling the energy and who's controlling the heating and cooling inside these national chains of restaurants and retail stores. So what EnTouch does is they've come into a very, very specific edge of the market and excelled in it, and now they're just growing. And so they do a 24/7 critical response. So they have an EnTouch command center, a facility management center, and then if you do want to learn how to do your master controller, they certainly got the technical support to make you a local wizard and local guru to take care of your own problem.
Well, I think they do. And are they a nest killer? That's one of the questions. I think, as we got the thermostat of the year coming up, the Controltrends Awards are getting ready to come here pretty soon. The nomination period's beginning. I think we got four viable candidates we've talked about already. We've talked on this show. We talked about Nest. We mentioned Honeywell and their Lyric and their thermostat offering. We mentioned Siemens, the defending champion, the RDY2000, and then you got EnTouch. And these guys are sharp. They made a bunch of money in the telecom telecom business. Kenny sold out, started this thermostat building. So they thermostat company, so they really understand thermostats. We've sold a lot of them at school boards where they have the remote classrooms, but their stuff works really well. And this video we have is actually a contractor day. It's from a couple of years ago, so it's a little dated, but you really get a gist for how the thermostat functions. When I say it's dated, it doesn't include the EnTouch 360, the app that they've developed, but the thermostat and its functionality is pretty much the same. So good stuff. You got to check that out. All right, Kenny, tell us about our next guest, the guy who gave us the bow ties.
Sure will. Thanks, Josh. I'll tell you, this guy is so cool. I don't want to take it. I don't want to risk leaving anything out of this guy's background. Josh Bradshaw is a Silicon Valley technical product strategist. His client works include projects for Intel, Muesli, Blue Fox, Syra, InHome, JobAnts, Griswold, GlanceClog, and other startups. He is a technology blogger at work.com and a staff member for Venture Capital Roundtable, a Silicon Valley angel group, and a volunteer with VLAB, the Bay Area's MIT Enterprise Forum. Brad is he's one of the coolest guys we've met. We met him at RealCom.
You mean Josh? You got to call him Brad? We don't know him well enough for you
Bradshaw.
To start giving.
Well, you know what? See, that's what it is.
Yeah, you don't know him well enough to give him nicknames yet, but we'll call him Josh. We'll call him Brad after this interview, maybe.
Hey, Josh.
Welcome to the show, big dog.
I was so pumped up. You just right. Here I did. I slipped up in the middle of it. I slipped on the orange tie. Dang it. Well, these orange ties got us thinking. Josh, welcome to the show, big dog.
Thanks, and call me Brad's not bad. I've been called worse.
I don't know how that happens. See, that's one of those Freudian things, because I saw you named Brad and Bradshaw, and of course we had a famous quarterback here in Pittsburgh named Terry Bradshaw, so that's a cool name here.
I've never heard of him before. Have you ever heard of Terry? Never heard of that guy, Terry Bradshaw.
Well, hey, listen, Brad's a San Francisco.
Yeah, well, he might be a relative of mine. Actually, yeah, he is.
Really?
But I've never met him. Yeah.
He's a relative of yours?
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Hey,
Through my grandfather, one of the cousins, yeah.
Nice. So you got the brains and the looks, and he got the arms, huh?
Well, certainly he was a better football player than I ever approached, but yeah.
Well, hey, Josh, you just went up 10 more points. I can't believe that. You're waxing large on my platform.
Yeah, your Pittsburgh viewership just went up a ton, right, Kenny? I mean, they're gonna find out Josh is related to Terry Bradshaw, and yeah, you're gonna go, hey, dude, man, it's so good to see you again, man. You're our man in Silicon Valley. We met you at RealCom Ibicon, and you did an interview with us, and hey, I think that might have been the first time anybody has to do an interview with us. And from what I'm hearing, you're kind of a first, man. I mean, there was a solar plane. Tell us about that, and sort of how you got involved in that piece.
So actually, just last week, the first round-the-world flight powered only by solar power was finished. And that's the Solar Impulse mission. So they built an airplane with solar cells on the tops of the wings and the plane and batteries. During the day, the solar cells charge the batteries, and during night, when there's no solar energy, the batteries power the plane, and it gradually discharges until morning. Well, I had followed this from the beginning of the mission and had written about it, engaged on Facebook and so forth with the Solar Impulse team. Their flight plans changed to where they would come here to Silicon Valley. They landed at Moffett Field, which is right in Mountain View by Google. And so I messaged them because I realized after doing a few searches that not enough people were talking about this. This is cool. This is innovative. This is disruptive. A solar-powered airplane. This is our moonwalk today.
Yes.
And nobody was talking about it. And then I mentioned to them, I said, hey, I think I'm the first Silicon Valley blogger to write about you guys. If you're having something for the landing, I'd love to come over there and write another piece for you. So I get over there. They gave me a press pass to go, and it was Al Jazeera, CBS, NBC, Popular Technology Magazine, and Josh with my little work tech work.
Nice.
So I got to see the landing, and then they gave priority to those big stations to interview the pilots, and then they ran out of time, and they were very apologetic. They said, we're so sorry. We're going to have a special event tomorrow for VIPs and tech bloggers. So I show up the next day, and I'm there, and I see Sergey Brin walking around.
Wow.
From Google. And then I see Larry Page. Well, the VIPs were Larry Page, Sergey Brin, and their kids and spouses. And the tech blogger was Josh. And I'd asked them if I could bring my wife and kids to see the plane. And they said, sure. So I have pictures of my kids next to Larry and Sergey's kids. I told my daughter, my 9-year-old daughter, I said, hey, talk to that little boy. He's about your age. She's like, no, Dad, it doesn't work that way. I'm like, oh, man, there went your chance.
Nice.
You can do so much as a father, right? But anyway, we had a good time, interviewed those pilots, and we've continued to cheer them on all the way through the final hurrah when they finished their round-the-world flight last week. And now they're looking to bring that technology out and market it. And then also last week, or maybe earlier this week, Facebook announced their first solar-powered flight with a drone, which is going to be used to distribute internet, which is also very innovative. So we have a lot of interesting things happening with solar.
Well, now, what do you mean distributed internet? They got a drone, and how's that going to work?
So the drone will have antennas that shoot internet down to places in the world where there's not internet.
Sweet.
Okay? High-speed internet.
Wow.
Then there have been experiments with balloons by different companies to you float the balloon up high, and then the internet signal can be shot down. Once again, this is people looking at how to help technology leapfrog in third world or developing countries where they may never have the ability to build the infrastructure for even cell communication, let alone landlines. And so now they can bring high-speed internet to the masses, and it opens up huge opportunities for those on the ground in those places, and for the rest of us in the world to connect with these people.
Cool stuff, Josh. Well, sorry, Kenny. Well, go ahead, Kenny. Do you have a question specifically regarding it?
It was just, I wanted to get right real quick to that solar impulse, and you meet those famous people. Do you realize how incredible, Josh? I know you do, because I watched your video, and I highly recommend everybody in Controltrends world to please visit Josh at worktechwork.com, because these pilots were extraordinary people. Now, if you think about being cramped up in this thing for 40,000 kilometers around the world, how incredible their mentality has to be. And you interviewed them, and you actually got them to talk about, what was natural about the design to facilitate human occupation in this confined space. And the guy came out and says that yoga and meditation on the aircraft, they had a space on that aircraft that was the size of a yoga mat. And that's how he dealt with the stress and the tremendous pressures to keep focused for that amount of time to make this incredible historic trip. This is big as Lindenberg, and I don't think people they don't. Charles Lindbergh, his transatlantic was done for monetary reasons. These guys, out of the goodness of their heart and their desire to impress sustainability and being one with the universe and one with the earth, did this. And they were incredible people. And tell us a little about that firsthand experience of while you were trying to draw out of them how this related to nature and how it was important for solar acceptance.
Well, one of the lessons I've learned in designing solutions, and this comes from my background. For those of you who don't know, I worked at BlackRock in their real estate program, in implementing and managing technology there for the accounting and operations system, which BlackRock uses Yardi, and so I'm very well versed in Yardi and in the business. Well, one of the things I found was if an aspect of the program didn't work quite the way people thought it should or felt it should, it didn't feel natural, it didn't work. And so including natural elements of design in technology is a way to help it be more successful. So, back when computers came out, they were metal boxes under our desks. And now we have computers like the ones I have on my wrists. And it's actually quite different. But the power inside of these two devices and what was under my desk in a box is very, very similar, and actually in some cases even more. So when you look at this, now this is something very connected to me. And it's touching me, and two companies actually could know my heartbeat because I have two different brands of watches that measure that. So when you're dealing with something so intimate, now technology is personal. We have personal electronic devices. When you're dealing with technology, you have to incorporate natural mindsets into how it works so that you can so that you can move forward. So in the plane, and the pilot, which was Andre Borschberg, which is the one who designed the plane, who I was interviewing when he talked about that, he flew for 5 days alone in that airplane. And, you have to have a way to naturally recharge. The limitations of solar-powered flight are actually the pilot and the weather, right? So if you can circumvent the weather and you don't have to have the limitations of the pilot, well, you could fly indefinitely. And so they had to find ways to naturally let the pilot recharge and at the same time keep the plane going.
Very, very cool. Well, Josh, so we're seeing a lot about solar, and let's we talked with Teresa a little bit last week about the Tesla Powerwall, right? And do you see solar being like an energy source for buildings anytime soon?
I do. And even over at Intel, they are incorporating solar into their corporate campus over there. A number of other companies around the valley are doing it. It's something that can go on top of buildings, which, we've got a lot of space on top of buildings that can be used to pick up energy from the sun. Yesterday, Tesla opened their new gigafactory, or at least the portion of it that's completed and ready to get rolling. That entire thing, which is going to be one of the world's largest buildings when it's completely done, is going to be completely coated with solar panels on the top of the roof. And it's going to, just a side fact is that factory, when it's completely done, will have the capacity to produce the same amount of lithium-ion batteries as was the world's capacity in 2014. So, we're going to be making batteries to store solar energy, and we're going to be generating solar energy right there in that facility, which is actually out by Reno in Nevada.
Good stuff. Hey, Josh, I want to start. The last thing I want to say is you had a corollary post, a second post to that incredible flight, and that was the entrepreneurs. That this guy had advice from entrepreneurs. The gentleman at Bertrand Piccard said that we have to raise the awareness of solar power, but we also need to understand a few things. Is that his start was that his parents gave him the impetus that never take no for an answer and never quit pursuing the creativity. That you had to. There was 3 dimensions in life. He used a balloon as a balloon is a prisoner to changing altitudes, and the only way to change altitude was to drop a ballast. But you were kind of you were screwed in that balloon. But as an entrepreneur, if you drop your beliefs and your emphasis like the ballast, and you raise to other levels, but you also include another dimension. So you have up and down, but you also have to include left and right. But he said that children believe what their parents teach them. And I got a kick out of you having your children there. So they're largely, their eyes are wide open. But wasn't that an incredible information for the entrepreneur? Tell us a little bit summary on that, what your article was on the entrepreneurial post.
That was amazing. By far, the interview with Bertrand Piccard, I've interviewed a lot of people, and his interview by far is the most intriguing interview I have ever done. That man has so much life coming out of him. The reason why he knows so much about balloons, and he's talking about hot air balloons, is because he holds the world record for traveling around the world nonstop in a hot air balloon. That's the record for the world's longest flight. So he knows a lot about when he says drop ballast, leaving behind your assumptions and moving onward and forward, not relying on what you know, but pursuing something and figuring out how you will get there in between. Their mission, actually the entire solar-powered mission, could be an example for the real estate industry, simply because in the real estate industry, especially I worked a lot with the accountants, and they tend to always want to do the same thing the same way. In real estate in general, if you look at mortgage brokerages or any other aspect, home sales even, we tend to stick to our real estate processes, and they're infused with an awful lot of paper and rudimentary checks and balances. And what we need to do is open the mind, just like Bertrand recommends, and drop all certitudes and focus on what the objective is and find new ways to get there and think. It's not even thinking about outside the box, it's thinking with an entirely different mindset to where you embrace change, embrace innovation, embrace disruption, and you also find a way to do it within the confines of profitability and, of course, legality. We have to always keep that in mind, but to do it within the confines of that. Now, from what I have seen in the past, when we've talked about energy solutions or things that would make buildings greener, it's actually been quite cost prohibitive in the past to implement some of these solutions in buildings. It would have also been in the past cost prohibitive to have a solar powered airplane fly around the world. But the costs of these technologies are going down. And now probably the largest cost is our willingness to change and to embrace technology. Once we can overcome that hurdle, we'll be able to move forward in leaps and bounds and accomplish great things.
You know, Josh, very well said. And it seems like, here's a question for you. It seems like, you know, Kenny and I talked about people in Silicon Valley. They think differently, they act differently. And I think the greatest minds on the planet are in Silicon Valley. Is that sort of the mantra out there, what you just said? To live in Silicon Valley, do you almost have to think and act that way?
Disruption and innovation are the lifeblood of the valley. And people come here from all over the world. It's quite a melting pot. And they're coming and going all the time. They want to bring their ideas here. They want to learn and leverage the mindset here. Venture capital is heavily concentrated here compared to any other place in the world. New ideas and startups more than any other place in the world. One of the caveats, though, is that because of that, we also have more failures. I wouldn't say we have more failures than anywhere else in the world, but I would hazard a guess that we have more companies that start up and fail than any other place in the world as well. So we also have this ability here in Silicon Valley to kind of rah-rah, pat someone on the back if they've been through a failed startup or two, not even if they've been the CEO, just a team member, because we all have experienced that and we all help one another. So there's this collaborative mindset as well. And there's this deep understanding that you learn lessons on the way. You learn when you have failed to deliver to customers what their expectations were, when you fail to deliver a product that a market really exists for. And these are things that I work with entrepreneurs specifically when I'm helping them with product strategy, but they're things that are happening even at larger corporate entities. Fostering innovation internally is really important because these giants, if they don't self-destruct and leverage the latest technologies, why they could also wind up suffering their ends like the blockbusters of the world.
No, absolutely, Josh. And you know, we saw you at Realcomm IBICon, and it was in Silicon Valley, which was great. And it seems like we've got a lot of people from the IoT space in Silicon Valley that are coming into the building automation, the traditional building automation, smart building control space. And how do you see that sort of interface? In other words, what should the people in our industry know about the people that are coming in? And based on what you know from us, what do the IoT people need to know about our industry to be successful?
So when it comes to the Internet of Things, so after I left BlackRock, I went and did an international MBA in strategy and marketing. And then I came back to Silicon Valley, and I had a lot of people in the real estate world calling me to do things. And I said, hey, guys, give me 6 months. I want to explore. And so what I did is I started that exploration, and I dove deep into the Internet of Things, deep. And I have analyzed, written about, and consulted on wearables and connected home and enterprise solutions. And then, you know, I reached a point where I realized that this whole Internet of Things thing, that's the hype term currently for it. When it comes to buildings and building systems, we've been actually laying a foundation there that doesn't exist anywhere else. When it comes to connecting disparate systems, maybe expanding a little bit sensor networks, applying analytics to data that buildings generate, and then arriving at insights that actually save money or we find other ways to create value. Well, that's that's what we need in the Internet of Things. And we're ready today in Internet of Things enabled building technologies. If you look at something like what Enlighted is doing, if you're looking at what Comfy is doing, they're adding an Intel gateway into a building, and then they're using people as the sensors with their phones to tell what the temperatures are. This is Internet of Things 101, but in the real estate industry, we don't need to think about Internet of Things. We just need to think about business. And we need to think about, well, how does this impact the ROI? And so to answer your question, when it comes to my advice for people who are creating new innovations here in Silicon Valley for the real estate industry, they've got to walk the walk and talk the talk of the real estate people, which means they've got to talk about NOI on their assets and other financial impact aspects of it. You guys talk a little about the 330-300 rule. They got to understand that. That's part of our business. And then when it comes to those in the real estate space, these new innovations, they may have less time in the market, but leveraging technology the way that we can now as opposed to 5 or 10 years ago is a different ball game. Yes, we still have to be cautious and move forward, make sure we check through our checklist and make sure that our projects are implemented appropriately. But we do need to be willing to try out these solutions, and I would say, if there are real estate asset managers that are resistant to adopting some of this new technology, in a few years they're either going to be on board or out the door.
Well said. Well, based on your experience, because in our industry, the traditional smart buildings controls industry, the Googles and the Intels and those people really started showing up at the Realcomm Ibicon conference, I think 3 conferences ago. And boy, did they get a huge sort of acknowledgement. I think when the gentleman from Intel basically stood up in front of a group of systems integrators and said, we'll be able to do a building in 3 days versus 3 months. And it seemed like at that time they were very much about coming in and taking over and displacing the current players. Based on your experience of how sort of Silicon Valley and those players roll, do you see them sort of trying to displace the existing players or to work with them?
I'm not familiar with the initial strategy behind what Intel was doing. While Intel is a client and I do contract with them, I'm not speaking on behalf of Intel right now. If I look at what Intel is doing, they are now working to strategically partner with companies that are building out different solutions. And I think that is going to continue, and that's going to be successful. Because if you look at a large corporate, and if you've looked at innovation or studied it, I've had a great hands-on study of it. But if you look at it, you can read some things from Clayton Christensen. But essentially, the large corporates have a challenge bringing that innovation to the market, and Intel in this case would be one of those. But if they allow it to develop outside, external from the big corporate, and then later they could bring it in, then they can participate in the innovation and disruption. So that form of partnership is actually something that you see in other industries as well. And I think it's actually a well-played move on Intel's part to partner with entrepreneurs, partner with risk takers, help them invest maybe in their companies through their venture arm, and then see where this really goes. And they can add value in the places where Intel's best at adding value, and then the entrepreneurs can come in and close the gap, and everyone in the ecosystem may benefit.
Well, just a testament to what you're saying about Intel, that I know that they work with IntelliStar, they work with KMC, they work with Daikin. So as you just said, the Intel route went from being me first, I know how to do this, to more of a collaboration approach. Listen, Josh, we have got to get you on the show more often, as Eric always says. Because we could talk forever, and unfortunately the subjects that we're going to have to move into the next one, because you've done so much on your site. And again, people need to go see it because of the interviews you've done. But you did really an interesting one with this guy from Roy Comblu of SRI. Tell us about this thing called the personal thermal comfort concept, and how people are the truest variable in this energy equation. And the feet,
Yeah,
in the feet part, you got to tell us about the feet.
Okay. So first, Roy Kornblue is a researcher at SRI. SRI started out, it was called Stanford Research Institute. Now it's called SRI International. Now, the first email in the world was sent between SRI and UCLA. Okay. Siri was invented at SRI. That's why Siri and SRI are spelled the same. The first surgical robot was invented there. And ultrasound imagery was invented there. The MRI was invented there. A lot of stuff has come out of this research institution. For those who don't know it, now you know. This is the place where innovation gets discovered and researched. So I went over there. I've known Roy a while. I went over there. He works a lot with robotics. And then he's like, hey, I'm working on this thing. And he had some sleeves for cooling people, the pads of their hands. And I was like, nobody's going to wear that. So then he said, now we're making it into shoes, into boots. And so because people will wear shoes, but they won't, in the summertime, they're not going to wear extra sleeves to cool down. Fashionably, it's not going to happen. So now they've been working on a system where they're using water inside of shoes to pull heat from the body so that people don't feel as hot. So then you could widen your dead bands further and have maybe the set point be at something like 79 instead of 75 or 74. And so they even pulled together a bunch of students at Stanford, and kind of the joke is you have to know students at Stanford, they check how many abs you have. You have to have a six-pack. They're all skinny young kids over there. But they did pull a bunch of students together, and they had them in a room that was 79 degrees, and they put them in the test, and they all said that they felt fine. They were cooler with this solution. So they've been doing some testing, and they showcased this at the Maker Faire. And so this is a public thing that they can talk about. Much of what they work on is confidential, but this is a public thing. And so they're trying to find ways to save energy in a building by minimizing the amount of heat and conditioning or cooling in the space. So that's one of a couple of different areas where they're trying to figure out how do we play in the smart building space. And a lot of it comes from actually, let's see. They gave me a paper. It's the ARPA-E, which is the Advanced Research Projects Agency for Energy. A lot of it comes from that, looking at how do we save energy. And I guess maybe if there's been an underlying theme, how do we started out talking about solar energy, and now we're talking about ARPA-E programs for finding ways to use energy in buildings more efficiently. And so they've been using a grant from that program, and they're doing some additional explorations as well.
Our guest is Josh Bradshaw from WorkTech. Josh, I tell you what, buddy, this is fantastic stuff. We're kind of getting up against it a little bit time-wise. I want to ask you sort of one final question, and I echo what Kenny says. Hope we can get you to come back on maybe every 5 or 6 weeks. Fascinating stuff. I want to sort of cycle back around to solar energy a little bit. We talked about the Tesla Powerwall, and there's a concept that's sort of bouncing around a little bit called blockchain. And Therese Sullivan mentioned that she could see one possible use of that is if we all get the power walls, now we could be, exchanging energy back and forth and using something like a blockchain to record those transactions. And she also mentioned that you were a bit of an expert on blockchain. So what's your take on blockchain, and how would it affect smart buildings, if at all?
Well, blockchain, for those of you who follow anything related to cryptocurrencies, blockchain is the enabling technology behind it, and it's why so many people trust blockchain or trust cryptocurrencies, is because it's based on a blockchain, which means that if there's an exchange, every bit of that gets built into a block. And so if we're exchanging money in this case, and I give Eric $1, well, it's going to there's a chain, and it's tracked, and that becomes a record of the block forever. And so what that does is it produces, because if I gave Eric a $1 bill, you would never know where that $1 bill came from, and you'd never know where it went afterwards. but now we have some record, and by design, the blockchain is quite secure. So when we look at applications for the blockchain in places like buildings, this is possibly offering security in the transactional elements of passing information back and forth between building systems. So using blockchain as a security element in the greater Internet of Things is something that several companies are working on. And I see that as potentially being there. I don't see it being something implemented immediately. I think we're probably 5 years in the future on that. And granted, in the real estate, we're usually at least 5 years in the past as far as what tools we're using. But, it will creep in there eventually as it's proven out. And then, as far as blockchain for exchange on energy, that is also a possibility. There's actually a lot of applications of it, and a lot of entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley, including one I know who's doing a blockchain application for managing risk or insurance, and actually gambling as well, because it's the same thing.
Right.
Insurance and gambling are about the same thing.
Right.
So there's a lot of entrepreneurs around who are exploring applications of blockchain technology in other areas. And so it's actually quite plausible that in a few years we'll see this in buildings.
Very, very cool. Our guest has been Josh Bradshaw from WorkTech. Josh, how do our listeners and viewers find out more about you? Obviously, you got the website WorkTech and .com, I'm assuming. And then you're also very active on Facebook. I encourage you to friend Josh on Facebook. But talk about how people can follow you and keep track of what you're up to.
Sure. At WorkTech, I blog about my mantra, which is don't work for technology, make technology work for you. I'm also on Twitter at WorkTech, and you can reach me by email, josh@worktechwork.com, and I'd be happy to meet out with you. And sure, on Facebook, that's the place where I do more. I do more there than I do on my blog. It's just a very engaging and personal place. You're welcome to, if you don't want to friend me and show me pictures of your food or whatever and your cat, that's totally fine. I've enabled follow so that you can just kind of follow and see everything that's there, and you can go back and see there's hundreds of posts of really interesting things that are happening in Silicon Valley in that Facebook feed. So go ahead, Facebook stock. Have fun.
All
Let's
right.
do it, big dog. And hey, man, Josh, go ahead.
Thanks for this bow tie.
Yeah, thanks for the bow tie, man, for sure.
Yes, I listened to the show last week, and you were talking about that, and I said, well, I could send us bow ties, and we'd all match.
We do, big dog. So listen, hey, here's a challenge for our Control Trends community. If you like Josh's interview, go to his Facebook page, follow him on Facebook, and like one of his posts, share it, and also send a picture of Josh with your bow tie. As a matter of fact, send a picture to Control Trends 2 of your bow tie. We'll put it up on the website as well, because we are a connected community through the tie, baby. As we wrap the show up, I just got to ask you one question, man. How was the bow tie experience for you? For our podcast listeners, Kenny and I are both wearing bright orange bow ties that our friend Josh Bradshaw from Work.work sent us. So it might be worth going to the website, ControlTrends.com, and just look at the video to see me and Kenny in these bow ties, man. We rock them, I think. What do you think? Would you do it again?
Well, sure. But, it was a dare, and we got called out on the dare. So here we are. And again,
it looks like we should be doing these, Kenny. We should be like working at an ice cream store or something like that. Maybe we ought to go get a second career and go to the local ice cream store with our bow ties. They'd probably hire us on the spot, man. We look like ice cream people with our white shirt and our bright orange ties, right?
Yep. All we need is the white cap and the white apron to go.
There we go, buddy.
50,
there we go. All right.
30.
Well, listen, for our podcast listeners, we really appreciate you listening. You can subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher. There's a link on the side of the ControlTrends.com website. You just click it and subscribe to the podcast. Hey, at the very least, we'd appreciate a good rating. We're trying to get more people knowledgeable about smart buildings. And to our VideoCast viewers, we appreciate you tuning in as well. So with that, Kenny Smyers. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Johnson Controls and Siemens, and our guests this week, Josh Bradshaw, WorkTech, and Marc Petock from Lynxspring. So Kenny Smyers, let's take the bow ties, let's go out, hang out with the families, and to our audience out there, remember, be bold, stay in control.
Indeed,
Kenny Smyers. And that's an ice cream wrap. All right.